Our casting today was made out of liquid latex. Liquid latex is an ammonia-based material. If you're allergic to latex, you're going to be allergic to this. They do make ammonia-free latex. If it's the ammonia in the latex that you're allergic to, you could always use that. If you're allergic to latex in general, and you want to make one of these, you could always do it in silicone. I like the latex. It's cheap. This giant tub is like 30 bucks, and this will probably get you 3 to 5 feet, depending on how big your feet are. Before doing the casting, what I like to do is cover up the top of that mold. I don't want any latex to slip out. You can, it's not a big deal. Just let it drip into a bowl or something so you can catch it. You don't want it to splash everywhere. I like to be able to slosh the mold around to really get the latex all over and into every detail, so I like to cover it up with a little tape. Not a big deal. Little duct tape around the top and you're all done. Once you're ready, get your latex into a bowl or into a cup, get your chip brush, and brush it all around inside there. You get a nice thick coat. Make sure you get all the details. Try not to miss anything. Overlap the edges a little bit. This way you know you've got every part of it. If you can't find liquid latex, this is casting latex. They also make a molding latex, which is a little bit thicker, not too much different for our purposes. You can also get it from a place like Michael's or art supply stores as molding latex. It's a liquid latex, slightly thicker, but used to make molds for castings. You can buy that same stuff. It usually comes in smaller bottles. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can always get that from there. Once you've got latex in the entire mold, let it sit and let it dry. How do we know when it's dry? As latex dries, moisture is removed from it. That's what actually causes the drying process. Plaster as a mold works best with latex because the plaster is porous. And as that porous plaster is drawing some of the moisture out of the latex, it's causing it to dry on the inside. The outside air is causing the moisture to evaporate from the outside of the mold, and that's going to cause the outside to dry. You can speed it up with a fan, a hot room, and a dehumidifier. Put those three things together and your latex will dry super fast. If you wanted to do this in a silicone mold, it would take forever to dry because the silicone is not porous. It doesn't give the inner layer of latex anywhere to go. The moisture can't go anywhere. It can only evaporate from one side, and that's going to make it take a lot longer to dry. You can tell that the latex is dry because it goes from that white, bright color to a sort of yellowish color. Once your first layer is just about cured, you can go in with the second layer. I like to pour in a second layer and kind of slosh it around to make sure it gets everywhere, to make sure that some parts don't end up too thick compared to others. It's not that big of a deal. The one thing that I do like to make sure of is that this top edge up in here is the thickest part because that's where I'm going to be grabbing and pulling when I put these pieces on. So I want that to be pretty strong. Once the latex is cured, it's time to pull it out of the mold. The latex has cured, but there's still moisture left in, and if the latex touches itself, it will stick and sometimes not remove. The way to really lock the latex to make sure it doesn't is with baby powder. Why? Because baby powder absorbs moisture, and that's the whole point of curing latex, is to remove as much moisture as possible. I don't want to remove all the moisture from the piece because I want some of it to still kind of be tacky in a way, because the next step is going to be to paint it, and when we paint, I'm using a latex-based paint. So I want the latex to bond with more latex. If you powder the whole thing, then it's going to have like a sealer on it, and it won't stick to the new latex as well. So we're really just going to use baby powder on the edge to make sure those little edge tips don't stick back. Put it back on the form. Once you've got your piece pulled out of the mold and it's ready and you've got your edges done, it's now time to add a little tiny piece of elastic to go underneath the foot so that it attaches to the shoe completely. If you're sure this is the shoe you're going to use forever with this piece, you could just glue the latex spat to the shoe permanently. Little E6000 goop. There's tons of really good, strong industrial type adhesives. Don't breathe this stuff in. Use it in a well ventilated area, etc., etc., etc. I like to use the elastic because I like to sometimes swap these out, reuse that shoe for another project. Pieces of elastic, Joann's, like 80 cents for a mile of it. Little clamps from the dollar store or from Home Depot, and the E6000 glue, which is one of my favorites. Glue it in there, clamp it, leave it for about a half hour, an hour. Come back, you're ready. Do one side and then the other. Get them nice and tight. Let it set. Once it's done, you've got a great bond that's not going to tear. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. All right, now it's time to paint. So, as we mentioned in other videos, when it comes time for any material being added to another material, you always want the two materials to have the same base. So when we're gluing latex, we want a latex-based glue. When we're painting latex, we want a latex-based paint. Latex-based paints are called acrylics. These are from Michaels. They're like $1 a piece, sometimes less. I like to stick with the browns, reds, greens, grays, and blacks for these kinds of zombie things. Mixing paint. Oh, God. Mixing paint is another art form that's, sometimes complicated and sometimes just kind of happens. I like to use the fleshy colors, mix them, get a color that you're going to be happy with. Remember, it's going to paint on super shiny, but it's going to dry very, very flat when the time comes. So mix up your paints, paint it on, chip brush, sponges, however you want to paint. Once you get your base color down, then I'll go in with the detailing, the darker reds and blacks and gray and gory colors for the open wounds, and then go in with a little shading and highlighting for some of the other colors in there. Next thing we're going to do is splatter some blood on here. That's going to be just the acrylic paint. I'm going to use a red with a little bit of black mixed with a decent amount of water. So like basically 100% water to the 100% of the paint. So it's double the thickness. You want it really kind of goopy, kind of splashy, and we're going to be using a spatter method for your spats. Like that? That I'm going to show you here. Do this two different ways. You can do it long if you want big, huge drips like you see me doing here in the video. You can also cut this down and get a shorter piece and use that to flick some of the paint on. And that's going to be, you're going to get finer bits on there, a little bit more detail. You'll have a little bit more control. I kind of wanted to go everywhere with this, so I left the bristles long. And once all that paint is dry, you'll notice that it's kind of gotten very flat. It's a very dull looking piece. It doesn't really look anything, doesn't look natural, doesn't look alive. The gory bits kind of look the blood looks blah. You can buy an expensive material called Perma-Wet, which I usually use for masks and things, but I've discovered that they actually make folk art. This is outdoor gloss sealer. It's also like $1 at Michael's, and this stuff would be enough to do an entire bodysuit probably. Great stuff. It does the same exact thing. It's basically a clear gloss latex that doesn't yellow, and it's fantastic. Just brush it on. All the bits that you want to really stand out and look wet. The toenails, the tips, the gore, the blood. Get that in there, and you're all set. Now that your paint is dry and your foot is all gory and gross looking, you want to add a little bit more life to it. I picked up these toenail kits, just a big box of fake toenail bits. And I started gluing some of them on. You can glue them on normal, like you see here, just like a normal foot would have. I'm going to attach it with some crazy glue gel. Just put a little bit down, take your toenail. You can glue it flat, like a normal toe, or you can glue it up, like kind of gross, like it's done this and that's gross. No, glue it down, glue it down. Okay, we'll go up. Here we go. If you want to speed up the gluing, that's really gross. If you really want to speed up the process, you can use the Zip Kicker. It's a little spray that causes super glues to cure instantly. I don't like that. Gross, put it away. Paint on your gore. You know that it's there, it's not going to go anywhere, and you're all, I can't even look at the toenail. Put it away. All right, I'm Spat from Spat Cave Studios. This was Cosplay 101, How to Make a Monster Spat. Love that title. If you like this video, please subscribe. Check out our other videos. Like and comment below. Share it with your friends. You can also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/SpatCaveStudios. On Twitter at SpatCave. YouTube here at SpatCave. SpatCave.com for the website. Everything's Spat Cave of some sort of spat. It's very simple. I try and keep it easy. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please comment below. Let me know what you think and if there's anything else you want to see in the future. And we'll see you next time when we make something else that's even weirder.